Hey guys, tonight we drift into a space between starlight and silence, where footsteps echo through clouds and ancient names still ring across unseen heavens. You're not here by accident. You've arrived at a threshold, a soft, glowing edge where divine secrets are whispered, not declared. Above you, the sky folds in ways you've never noticed before. Not blue, but layered. Not still, but alive. Not empty, but filled with waiting. Tonight you don't fall asleep, you ascend. One step at a time, you're drawn into a realm only one mortal was ever truly allowed to see. His name was Enoch, great-grandfather of Noah, but more than that, a scribe of heaven, a walker between worlds. According to the Book of Enoch, an ancient text hidden from most Bibles and sealed away for centuries, he didn't die like other men. He was taken. And what he saw, well, you're about to see too. Just be careful, you probably won't survive this flight of revelation, unless you've got wings or a direct line to the Almighty. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, post your location and the local time. I love seeing how far these stories travel across time zones. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You rise gently at first. The room fades, your bed dissolves. You float above your own breath, above the ceiling through the night's hush. The stars seem closer tonight. Or maybe you're just farther away from Earth. Clouds part not from wind, but reverence, as if they recognize what you now carry, a whisper from before time. Your body forgets its shape. Your thoughts stretch outward like wings. And then there it is, a sky that doesn't belong to this world. Dimly glowing, layered in impossible hues, like fabric stitched from starlight and song. You're not alone. Something sees you, not threatening, just aware. Eyes not physical, but present, warm, ancient. They don't blink, they don't need to. These are the watchers, the angelic observers, and you've stepped into their domain. The Book of Enoch says these beings were sent to guide and guard, but some fell. Some loved too deeply, descended too far, gave mortals gifts too heavy to carry. But these still stand. Their attention is curious, as if wondering why you of all people now rise. A platform of light appears beneath you, not built, not summoned. It simply is. You step onto it weightless. And suddenly you remember something. You've never known this path has always been here. Just out of reach, just waiting. The air is dense with thought, not words, not sound thought. Every breath you take feels translated from some other tongue, and yet you understand. Not with your mind, but with your marrow. Then ahead, you see it. A stairway. Not Jacob's ladder, this is older. It doesn't climb into the clouds. It climbs beyond them, past the visible heavens. Each step hums with heat as if it were once a sun. Firelight pulses from the edges. This isn't a ladder for angels descending. It's a stairway for those chosen to rise. And here's the mystery: Enoch walked this path. He was invited, not summoned. And now, so are you. You begin to climb, step by glowing step. Each one burns a little less than the last, like your body's learning how to belong here. The higher you go, the less the earth below matters. Not out of arrogance, but peace. You feel the pull of worry, memory, deadlines all drop off your back like unneeded stones. Above you, the stairway bends, curls like a ribbon of judgment and mercy. Time distorts. Was that your third step or your 1000th? Does it matter? Now a breeze, but not cold. It smells like honey and thunder, like forgotten prayers being answered. You pause not to rest, but to listen. A voice, not in your ears, but in your ribcage. You are not the first. It isn't warning you, it's preparing you. Because ahead lies the first true threshold. Enoch called it the Veil of Dominions, a shimmering curtain, silver and soft, but denser than reality itself. No human hand can part it. But you're not just human here, you're invited. The veil moves for you. You pass through not with effort, but surrender. And suddenly silence. Heavy, sacred silence. The kind you feel after a song ends, but you're still humming inside. You are in the first heaven. This is not the final realm, not yet, but already your senses swim. Below you, earth. Above you, the second sky, thick with creatures you don't recognize, but somehow know. The watchers retreat. Their task ends here, yours begins. And far ahead in the distance, something waits. Not a throne, not a gate. A presence, vast, patient, like someone's been watching your climb for a very long time. The presence ahead doesn't rush you. It waits not like a guard at a checkpoint, but like a sunrise that knows you'll meet it eventually. You're still in the first heaven where sight behaves strangely. Things don't glow, they remember light. Every object, every breeze seems to shimmer with echoes of the moment it was first created. And in this place, the air is full of watchers. They don't look like the angels you've seen in paintings. There are no halos, no feathered wings, just yet. These are the silent ones, tall as lampposts, robed in shadows of gold. Their faces blur at the edges, like your eyes refuse to trap their full form. But their attention, that's crystal clear. One tilts its head as you pass. You sense a thought, like wind pressing gently against your thoughts. You are not judged, not yet, only observed. And so you move onward. Enoch once described this part of heaven as the place of the watchers who count and remember. They record what they see, but they never intervene. They see too much, feel too much, and perhaps love too much to act. That's where it all started, after all. Once long ago, a group of these angels made a decision. The Book of Enoch calls them the Grigori, the Watchers who descended. They were meant to observe, but they fell in love with what they saw. Humanity in its early beauty, in its fierce fragility. The Watchers didn't fall out of pride like Lucifer, they fell out of longing. They taught mankind things they weren't ready for: the knowledge of stars, of herbs, of enchantments and blades. They gave language to shadows, and they took wives. Children were born giants, they say. Beings who didn't quite belong to earth or heaven. The Nephilim. It's easy to paint them as villains. But up here, the judgment is quieter. One watcher, standing just to your left now, trembles slightly. You sense no threat, only sorrow, as if the punishment has lasted longer than the crime. And that's the thing. The Book of Enoch doesn't scream condemnation. It mourns. These angels loved wrongly, but they still loved. You pass beneath an archway made of living stone. It breathes. It pulses. It hums a tone so low you feel it in your feet. You're entering what Enoch called the Chamber of Gaze, a place where all angelic eyes gather. Ahead there are circles, layers of platforms, like a theater of attention. But instead of an audience, you find a choir. Not singing. Not yet. Just watching. You are the only mortal here, but you're not out of place. They recognize something in you. Not your body, not your name. Your longing. And here's a little joke: they all seem to be wearing the same expression angels get when they know the answer, but aren't allowed to say it. Kind of like when someone's trying to help you open a gift without ruining the surprise. The platform beneath your feet lifts, slowly, silently. As you rise, the air thickens with memory. You catch glimpses, not visions, but impressions. A woman praying beside a dried river. A boy laughing as he lifts his eyes to the stars. A war fought in silence. These aren't your memories, but they could be. And suddenly you understand the Watchers store more than observations. They carry hope, quietly, like forgotten libraries of emotion. There's one angel ahead now, not taller than the others, but brighter. His robe sparkles with written light letters, moving like fish in a stream across his sleeves. You sense that he is old, older than questions, older than sound, and yet he speaks. Not aloud, just into you. You climb not to know, but to become known. The phrase swirls in your chest like incense, sweet, burning, strange. You want to ask a question. You think of 1,000, but none leave your lips, because he already answers. No one ascends alone. Enoch still walks here. He watches too. Your breath catches. Somewhere in this layered sky, the first human ever to pierce heaven's veil still moves. But not as a man anymore. The angel extends his hand not to guide you, but to gesture forward. Go, he says. They're expecting you. You descend from the platform, walking now into a corridor of soft winds. The floor beneath you feels like cloud and stone at once. Each step presses into memory and then bounces back with joy. The silence is comfortable now, not emptiness but expectation. And as you near the end of this heavenly hall, the light shifts. It sharpens. A great stairway is coming, one that climbs not through levels but through essence, through holiness itself. But for now, behind you, the Watchers resume their vigil. And one leans slightly toward you, just enough for you to catch a final thought, like the echo of thunder over water. We fell for love. Be careful what you carry. The corridor of winds gives way to something stranger, a stairway that doesn't begin with a step, but with a decision. It waits for you, coiled in the air like a question. Not made of stone or cloud or fire. It's made of light, woven light laced with flame that doesn't burn and smoke that glows instead of dims. The whole structure breathes. That's the unsettling part. The stairway inhales, and with it, so do you. This is the stairway Enoch climbed. But he never described how many steps there were. Not because he forgot, because it changes for everyone. You place your foot on the first stair and feel a memory slide up your leg, someone else's memory. A girl looking out a window whispering a prayer she's never told anyone. The stair beneath your foot pulses gently, then quiets. Every step after that brings a new feeling, like opening drawers in a house you never lived in but somehow miss. A flicker of sadness, a flicker of wonder, a flicker of, was that laughter whose? You're not just climbing a stairway, you're climbing through stories, through souls. The light around you begins to change. It's no longer golden. It takes on the color of hot silver, like moonlight set on fire, and the air grows thicker, not in pressure, but in presence. Someone or something is very aware that you're ascending. You pause and look up. There's a throne in the distance, but not the throne. This one floats halfway between realms. It's not occupied, yet it vibrates with attention, like it remembers being sat upon. Carvings twist up the sides, eyes wings, rivers thunderclouds, a lion's mouth. You step closer and realize this throne watches you. It isn't for you, but it knows you. Enoch called it the lesser throne of observation, a place where authority used to sit before the first judgment, when even angels were held to account. Some believe this throne belonged to the archangel Phanuel before he was reassigned to the higher heavens. Others think it was symbolic, a kind of throne-shaped mirror built to reflect only truth. You feel its gaze now. Not cruel, not even stern, just deeply honest. This throne sees who you are without the masks you wear on earth. It sees past your actions, past your thoughts, into the tiny cracks where your intentions live. And here's where it gets funny. You're not embarrassed. Somehow being known this completely makes you feel more whole, not less. A voice, or maybe just the throne's presence, murmurs, "No secrets here, but no shame either." That's when you hear the stars. Not overhead, beneath your feet. You kneel instinctively and press your hand to the stair beneath you. It hums, then sings. Tiny, high-pitched harmonies vibrate through your bones like crystal chimes dropped in slow motion. These are the stars that never fell. Enoch described them as celestial minds clothed in fire. Not stars as in suns, but living entities older than rebellion. Before Lucifer fell, before earth cooled, these stars were already singing. And here they are beneath your feet, holding you up. Some ancient theologians believed stars were once angels themselves, burning intelligences placed in the sky to mark the days and seasons. Others argued they're simply obedient lights, doing exactly as commanded since creation. But here in this stairway, both ideas blend. You feel them, and they feel you. One note swells louder, just one. You pause, that note recognizes you. You can't explain how, but you know it knows your voice from a prayer you whispered once, maybe when you were 5, maybe when you were broken. It echoes that prayer back to you, not in words, but in tone. Affirmation, memory, permission. You keep climbing. Your breath slows, not from exhaustion, but reverence. Above you now, clouds unfurl like curtains made of milk and fire. Something awaits behind them. The steps end, just like that, and now you float. Not up, not forward. Inward. This part isn't about movement anymore. It's about invitation. You feel the space around you shift. It welcomes you, but only if you soften. Only if you become light enough to belong here. A presence gathers around you, not a being. A place that feels like a person. And then, a breath not yours. You turn slowly. Something massive looms just beyond visibility. A being of flame, but peaceful. Its wings don't flap, they ripple like rivers. Its eyes are covered, not hidden in shame, shielded so their gaze doesn't undo you. An angel, but not just any angel. He introduces himself not in speech, but in understanding. I am Raziel, the keeper of secrets. In tradition, Raziel is said to hold a book, the book of God's mysteries. He once gave it to Adam, then Enoch, then perhaps Noah. It contains all knowledge. But it can only be read if your soul is quiet enough to listen. He doesn't hand you a book, he is the book. And you're the page he's reading now. Your story flickers across his form in glowing script, your past, your loves, your doubts, your moments of silent awe. He nods, and then steps aside, because now something else waits. not another stairway. A doorway, breathing, pulsing, glowing, and beyond it, the next heaven. You don't open the doorway, it opens you. The moment you step toward it, the threshold breathes in, not air, but memory. Everything you carry, the questions, the disbelief, the ache you've never been able to name it, lifts from your chest like dew, rising at dawn. You're not emptied, you're translated. And then the veil lifts and you enter the second heaven. It's brighter here, not in the way Earth measures light. There's no sun, no shadows, just a kind of knowing that glows from every direction at once. It reminds you of the inside of a pearl, soft, endless layers, each whispering there's more. The floor beneath your feet forms mid-step. A crystalline path stretches forward, suspended in nothing, or perhaps everything. To the left and right, entire universes glitter, some still forming, others long since forgotten. You catch one just briefly, a spiral galaxy folding in on itself, like a prayer returning to its source. This is where the cosmic administrators dwell. Beings who keep the rhythms of light and time balanced across dimensions. Enoch called them the luminaries. They're not angels in the traditional sense, more like divine architects. They don't sing, they don't speak, they calibrate. One appears beside you now, no feet, no wings, no face, just radiant geometry shifting with precision and grace. You don't need to speak, it already understands the shape of your arrival. You sense its curiosity, not about you exactly, but what you might disrupt. Even your presence here changes the equations. You are a variable, a sacred anomaly. A soft vibration hums beneath your feet. The path responds to your thoughts. Each step forward is guided not by destination, but intention. You think of wonder and the path widens. You think of doubt and it narrows. You think of love and it glows. There's a sound now, not music, more like a chord stretched across infinity. It deepens as you walk, and suddenly you realize it's being tuned. This entire realm is a symphony in calibration. A single sour note in one corner of the cosmos is gently rebalanced here. Enoch wrote of this place with awe. He said it was where the sun and moon receive their orders, not just where they're placed, but where they're decided. A vault appears beside you, massive, humming with fire and frost. Inside it, a map. Not of Earth, not of the heavens, a map of obedience. Every ray of light that has ever obeyed the will of God charted. Every star that refused to veer, every comet that never strayed. And here's the strange twist. There's also a section for disobedient light. You pause. Why would heaven record that? And then it hits you, because even rebellion becomes part of the design. Some theologians say the devil's fall was the beginning of freedom. Others argue it was the moment heaven wept for the first time. Here in the second heaven, both ideas hang side by side like banners in a quiet hall. You walk further. The luminary beside you halts, and in its place something new arrives. It looks almost human, but its face is veiled. Veiled not out of modesty, but mercy. You hear its voice before it opens its mouth. I am Sariel, it says, messenger of divine judgment, keeper of storms, teller of names. Enoch feared Sariel at first. His judgment was not wrathful, but absolute. In this realm, even time must answer to him. He gestures to a pool of liquid glass. It ripples with your name, then shifts to names you've forgotten. Friends from childhood, a neighbor you once helped, a stranger whose suffering you ignored. Every name still echoes here. Sariel speaks again. This is the pool of remembrance. What is forgotten on earth is recorded in heaven, not to condemn, but to complete. You stare into the surface. It doesn't accuse you. It invites you to remember, and you do. You recall a moment of quiet kindness you offered, once thinking no one noticed. A word you spoke that kept someone from crumbling. You'd long dismissed it. But not heaven. Here in this place of cosmic refinement, nothing is lost. Nothing is too small. Sariel turns and begins to walk. You follow him not because you must, but because there's no other direction your soul wants to go. And then without warning, you stop. There's a room up ahead. Circular, windowless, a sphere hovering in space. Sariel nods for you to enter alone. Inside it's quiet, dark, until suddenly, a burst of light explodes upward, forming a spinning lattice of flame and ice. This is the chamber of celestial law. Enoch barely described it. Perhaps he wasn't allowed to, but you're inside it now. The laws of gravity, love, time, and breath, they spiral around you like angelic equations. Here's the wild part, they're not fixed. They adapt. Heaven isn't rigid, it responds. A warm wind moves through the chamber. It smells like rain falling on letters never sent. And somewhere deep within that wind, you hear the echo of a promise. The rules bend for mercy. You stay there for a moment longer, bathed in light that knows your name and still smiles. Then gently the chamber opens again, and Sariel is gone. Another being waits now. No wings, no robes, just eyes. Eyes that see the parts of you you haven't met yet. You don't fear them, because they see hope, and they see where you're going next. The eyes don't blink. They don't even look away, not out of challenge, but reverence, like they're witnessing a rare eclipse or hearing a name that hasn't been spoken since the beginning. And the longer they study you, the more you sense it. They're not watching you. They're watching something in you waking up. You blink, and suddenly the eyes are gone. In their place, a passage of wind. It doesn't howl. It doesn't rush. It simply moves like breath being exhaled by something too large for this realm. You step into it, and at first the world dims. But then the darkness becomes stars, stars scattered across a velvet sky, stitched into spinning maps you can't read, but understand. You're not in the second heaven anymore. You're between. This is the layer Enoch hinted at, but never fully described. The place where the lights of creation, those obedient stars, live not as distant points, but as presences. They shine with personalities. Some feel warm, some curious. One feels almost mischievous. You reach out and one drifts toward you, shrinking down into the form of a child made of flame and shadow. It doesn't speak. It just nods, then vanishes like it came only to say hello and remind you that everything, even stars, remembers its maker. And then the sound begins. Not loud, not structured, just there. Like a song that's been playing in the background of your life all along, only now you've turned up the volume. This is the Song of the Stars. Enoch said he heard it once, and it changed how he walked forever. It's not just music, it's memory in melody. The stars sing of the time before time, of a silence so deep only God could hear it, and then a breath, then a word, then light. Each note you hear wraps around your ribs like a gentle thread. You don't know the language, but your soul hums along instinctively, like a forgotten lullaby from before your birth. And here's something you'll love: some stars sing off key, but heaven doesn't correct them. Here, dissonance isn't a flaw, it's a texture, a way for joy to sound more real. Now, as you drift through this realm of musical starlight, you notice them figures in the distance, tall and still. At first, you think they're statues, but then they turn their heads in perfect unison, and you feel your lungs tighten with awe. These are the angels of radiance, beings who carry not messages, not judgment, not even mercy. They carry awe. That's their only job, to hold the vastness, to be the vastness. You float closer to one and you feel the sheer scale of it, not just size, but depth. You feel how many suns its presence has birthed, how many galaxies it's hovered near, and the whole time it has said nothing. Because its job isn't to speak, it's to witness. You begin to weep, not from sadness, not from fear, from scale. You're not small in a dismissive way. You're small the way a single brushstroke is small on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Beautiful because it fits perfectly. The angel nods once, and then gestures with a hand made of burning mirrors. You follow the gesture and see something shimmering far beyond a gateway made not of gold, not of flame, but of sound. It pulses with the chord you've been hearing all along, the Song of the Stars, and as you draw closer it changes. It starts whispering your story back to you, your first heartbreak, your first wonder, the moment you saw death and didn't look away, the moment you gave something small and real and didn't ask for thanks. It sings it all. Like heaven has always been paying attention, and as the song fades, the gate opens. Behind it, a place Enoch never wrote about in detail, a chamber beyond words. A throne, not the final throne, but one almost as old. It floats in nothingness, yet roots itself in everything. You step inside and feel a presence, familiar, not in memory, in origin. It's the sense that something inside you was built by this place, not in flesh, but in longing. You walk forward, and there it is, the throne of echoes. Here, everything said in truth bounces forever. You speak just one word, maybe a name, maybe a question, maybe a thank you, and the throne answers, not with sound, with light. The light dances into your chest and stays there. You now carry a piece of this throne forever. And somewhere behind you, one of the radiant angels smiles not with lips, but with presence. As if to say, that was the right word. You walk back through the gate, and the stars, they keep singing, but now they've added a new verse. Your name is in it. The stars continue their song, but you notice something subtle shift in the melody, like a key change. Not dramatic, gentle, intentional. You're no longer floating aimlessly. The music itself seems to be nudging you forward, guiding your breath, your thoughts, your very direction. You're being led. And as the final note of that newly sung verse echoes behind you, the path ahead sharpens. Not in shape, but in clarity. The clouds part not white, but luminous silver. Not pushed aside by wind, but by reverence. They make way for something ancient, something structured, a vault. You step toward it and realize this is no temple or hall. It's a chamber. Massive, circular, layered like a great wheel and alive with flame and air. This is what Enoch called the chamber of the winds and flame. He said it was hidden above the second heaven and below the seat of final judgment. A regulatory space, a throne room, but not for a king, for function. You've stepped into the lungs of creation. The winds rush by not violently but knowingly. They pass through you like whispered intentions, brushing your skin with messages older than language. The flame hovers mid-air in spheres, each glowing a different color, each radiating a different feeling. Curiosity, discipline, forgiveness. Discipline again, as if creation needs repetition to stay balanced. At the center of the chamber stands a figure, not tall, not armored, just present, clothed in flowing robes made of flickering script. Words in 100 languages form and dissolve around him like fireflies. His hair flows upward like smoke refusing to fall. He raises a hand not to stop you but to still the room. Instantly the winds hush. The flames dim. You're left in a silence that vibrates. I am Uriel, he says not loudly but unavoidably. Watcher of flame, governor of divine currents. This is the angel who keeps the elements in their place. Not because they are wild but because they remember Eden and sometimes they long to return. Uriel's gaze is like a forge, not hot, transforming. When he looks at you, you feel like a piece of iron being reshaped without being broken. You are here, he says, because you carry wind in your breath and fire in your soul. You want to ask what that means, but the words melt in your mouth. Instead, he steps aside, revealing a giant brass structure behind him, an orb spinning slowly on an axis made of living lightning. This is the regulator, the heart of the chamber. It's not a device, it's a being. You feel it pulsing in time with your heartbeat. For a moment, you wonder if you've become part of it just by entering. Uriel continues. Every storm on earth, every breeze, every blaze echoes from this center. Here we shape their purpose. You watch as a tiny arc of lightning dances across the orb's surface and flies off into the air, vanishing through the chamber walls. Somewhere on Earth, a thunderstorm has just begun. And here's where things get strange. One of the flames flares up beside you, not angrily, inquisitively. It begins to spin, changing colors. A soft hum surrounds you. You're being read, not judged. Measured. And the flame seems pleased. Uriel notices. You still carry wonder. That is rare, even among the faithful. He walks forward and touches your forehead not with fingers, but with light. The sensation is instant and strange. You remember a moment when you first felt the divine on earth, a sunrise, a stranger's kindness, the smell of old pages in a Bible, too large for your childhood hands. The flame next to you calms, then slips back into its orbit. You are accepted. Uriel gestures once more to a side door arched and glowing. Beyond it, 7 steps. 7 sacred steps. He nods. You are ready. You thank him, but in your mind, not your mouth. He hears it anyway. And with a faint smile, Uriel returns to his post as the Chamber of Winds resumes its holy breathing. You walk toward the door. Each step forward is greeted by a warm breeze and a flicker of holy flame curling around your ankles. Not harming, blessing, and then you're through. The chamber fades behind you like a memory that won't disappear, but also won't get in the way. You now stand before a valley, not wide but deep, carved into the celestial landscape. And towering above it, mountains. 7, just as Enoch described. They're not snow-capped. They're glowing, each one a different hue. Emerald, sapphire, ruby, obsidian, topaz, pearl, and at the center, an unnamed shade of light flickering between gold and something your eyes don't have a word for. The 7 mountains no one climbs. At least no one should. Enoch warned that these peaks are not obstacles to be conquered, but beings to be understood. Each one holds a secret about divine authority. Each one whispers truths that mortals aren't ready to carry into flesh. But you're not flesh now, are you? You approach the first mountain. It doesn't speak, but it feels like it will. And suddenly you realize they're listening to you. The first mountain hums not like a song, but like a thought being held just under the tongue. The sound doesn't come from around you. It comes through you like your bones have turned into tuning forks, and the mountain is plucking one string at a time. You take a step closer, and immediately your breath slows. Not because you're tired, but because the air around this mountain carries a weight of memory. Ancient memory. Not yours, not Enoch's. Heaven's. Enoch described the 7 mountains as the boundaries of divine knowledge, living pillars that shape the landscape of higher realms. Not barriers, exactly. More like celestial sentinels. You can pass between them, maybe even touch them. But to climb them, even angels hesitate. Each mountain embodies an aspect of God's authority, truths so vast they can't be spoken, only experienced. The first one pulses with a color deeper than emerald, and the light leaking from its cracks feels alive. Not aggressive, not cold, just watchful. You reach your hand out not to touch, but to ask permission. The mountain responds with silence, but not rejection. Its silence is sacred, the kind that follows a miracle or fills the space after a whispered amen. You sense that even standing near it changes you subtly, permanently, like ink soaking into cloth. You move along the valley floor between the peaks. As you walk, each mountain reacts in its own way. The sapphire one sends soft vibrations into the sky, rippling like thunder made of silk. The ruby one seems to heat the air with quiet resolve, warming your heart with something that feels like conviction. And then there's the fourth, obsidian. This mountain is not dark, it absorbs light. Not violently, just thoroughly, like a friend who listens more than they speak. You pause near it and realize this is the mountain of divine mystery. The unanswerable questions, the holy I am that silences all other names. It doesn't offer explanations. It dares you to trust. You feel a twinge of discomfort, how human of you. We crave clarity, we long for order. But here, standing beside a living monument to unknowability, you feel the urge to release your need for answers. And suddenly peace. Not the peace that comes after a solution, the peace that comes after surrender. Then halfway between the 6th and 7th mountains you see it. A figure, sitting alone, facing the tallest peak, the golden one that isn't gold. The figure doesn't move, doesn't breathe, but somehow feels alive, like a soul frozen mid-prayer. You approach slowly, and as you do, the air thickens, not like fog, but like incense. Heavy, fragrant, sacred. The figure is not human, but it once was. It's the memory of Enoch himself. Not a ghost, not an echo. A preserved intention. He sits with his back straight, hands resting on his knees, eyes locked on the 7th mountain. He doesn't notice you, not because you're invisible, but because he's still seeing something far beyond. You remember what was written: Enoch was taken. Not because he was perfect, but because he walked with God. And now here, his walk has become a vigil. You wonder how long he's been like this. Then you realize you're outside of time here. Long has no meaning, neither does soon. As you stand near Enoch, the 7th mountain trembles. Just slightly, like it senses your nearness. This is the mountain of divine will. It doesn't glow, it burns. But without flame, it radiates a light that isn't light. A presence that makes even the watchers whisper. Some say this mountain was the first to rise when the heavens were formed. Others believe it will be the last to fall long after the world forgets its own name. You take one step closer, and your knees buckle not in fear, but in recognition. Your soul knows this place, has longed for it. You hear something then, not outside, not inside, below. A voice, massive, gentle. It says only this. You remember. You don't respond, because the moment it speaks, your heart echoes it back. I do. Suddenly the valley pulses with gold. The mountains begin to hum in harmony, each releasing a tone that blends with the others. The sound is soft, but so deep it rearranges you. You feel your regrets loosen. Your griefs fade, not forgotten, but lifted. And in that moment, standing between the 7, you realize something Enoch knew all along. Heaven isn't about arrival. It's about remembering. These mountains, they're not meant to be climbed. They're meant to awaken. And they just did. As the hum fades, so does the golden glow. Enoch's figure shifts ever so slightly, like he's nodding. Maybe to you, maybe to the mountain, maybe to both. You turn heart quiet and walk away, not to leave, but to continue. You pass between 2 mountains as they sigh with light. Ahead, something new waits. Not higher, deeper, a sorrow wrapped in starlight. An angel who made a different kind of choice. The air changes, not colder, not warmer, just thicker, like emotion made physical. You're still in the valley beyond the 7 mountains, but something here feels heavier. It's not fear, it's not dread. It's grief. Not yours, not heaven's. His. You sense him before you see him. An angel, burning, brilliant, beautiful, and bent slightly forward, as if the weight of what he carries has pulled even his divine frame toward the earth he no longer walks. He stands alone beneath a tree that flickers with silent lightning, its leaves glowing faintly blue. The sky above is quiet but charged. The kind of quiet you hear when someone is holding back tears. This is the angel who burned with regret. Enoch never named him directly. He only wrote that there was a watcher who mourned not his fall, but his kindness. A being who did not descend for pride or lust or power, but because his heart broke for the suffering of humankind. And maybe, just maybe, that compassion led him too close to the fire. You step closer. He turns. His face is young but ancient. His eyes carry galaxies. But beneath all that power, there's something else. Shame. Not the shame of being caught, the shame of having meant well and still done wrong. He does not speak your name, but he knows it. You feel that immediately. Instead, he offers a phrase soft as silk. You would have done the same. At first, you're not sure what he means. Then it hits you. This angel loved humanity too much, watched us suffer, saw us grasping for meaning, for survival, for beauty in a broken world, and couldn't stand by any longer. He gave us knowledge not out of rebellion, but out of mercy. And for that, he was cast out. Not into hell, into sorrow. This is the punishment of the compassionate, to watch their kindness unravel into unintended consequence. You sit beside him under the tree. The silence is tender, not awkward. He doesn't glow like the others. His light is dimmed like a lantern covered in cloth. And yet, even dimmed, he is beautiful. He begins to speak slowly, his voice like water flowing over stones. He tells you that not all angels who fell did so for glory. Some fell simply because they couldn't bear to watch us break anymore. You imagine us perfect, he says, but our obedience was never robotic. It was chosen, and so was compassion. A breeze stirs the grass. He looks up at the tree and murmurs, "This is the last thing I was allowed to plant." You touch the bark. It pulses. It's not just a tree, it's a memory. A memory of the day he was told to return to the higher realms and refused, not in pride, in love. Some believe this angel was once called Penemu, the one who taught humanity writing wisdom and the secrets of healing. Others say it was just a fragment of Uriel split off and left behind when his duties grew too heavy. Either way, this being carries weight few would ever understand. He stands and turns toward you. No one forgives us, he says, but he does, quietly. He looks up not at the sky but beyond it, then lowers his gaze back to you. I burned not from disobedience, I burned from caring too much. There's no defense in his tone, just truth. And then a whisper, not from him but from the tree. A voice older than time. Compassion is not a sin. You both hear it. And something in the angel's shoulders softens. For the first time in eons, perhaps, he is relieved. You realize you were sent here not just to see him, but to witness him. To remember that even divine beings wrestle with the weight of love. He steps back, placing a hand on your shoulder. You carry questions, he says. Some don't have answers. Not yet. But there is peace in the not knowing. He gestures toward a narrow path that wasn't there before. A tunnel of golden mist descending softly into a place Enoch described as the resting hollows beneath the mountains. Go, he says. Not all who sleep are lost. You thank him not aloud, just with your presence. He bows his head and returns to his seat beneath the tree of lightning. You walk forward. The mist parts with each step, and as it does, you hear a low hum like a lullaby sung by voices no longer breathing. It pulls you deeper, and down below where light bends and time slows, the souls begin to stir. The mist thickens around your ankles like warm fog curling gently with each step. But this isn't Earth's mist. It glows faintly from within, soft amber and silver pulses like distant stars caught in vapor. The path leads downward into what Enoch called the resting hollows beneath the mountains. At first there's only silence, then not quite voices, presence. You feel them before you see them. Souls, not drifting like ghosts and not shining like angels. These are the righteous at rest spirits suspended in anticipation like notes in a song paused mid-verse. Enoch described this place as being divided into chambers, not judgment, not punishment waiting. 4 hollows, each one a resting space for a different kind of soul. The faithful, the wounded, the innocent, the forgotten. And they're not asleep. They're listening. You pause near the first chamber. The wall here isn't stone, it's memory. A textured ripple of prayers, tears, laughter, and silence pressed into a fabric that lives. You brush your hand along it and the wall responds with a soft hum. A presence approaches. Not a ghost. A soul. A woman glowing faintly blue steps from the shimmer. Not frightening, not even unfamiliar. You realize something strange. She looks a little like someone you once knew. Or maybe will know. Or maybe almost became. Time folds strangely here. She speaks not with sound but with feeling. We're not waiting for salvation, she says. We're waiting for completion. You begin to understand. These are not condemned souls. These are souls held gently like seeds in spring soil. Not dead, not discarded, simply not done. In another chamber, you see children glowing softly, playing with orbs of light. Their laughter is music without notes. Some theologians once said, unbaptized infants go to limbo. But here, they are not forgotten. They are celebrated. You watch as one of the children tosses a glowing orb toward the sky. It rises, pulses, and vanishes, carried into the higher heavens. A gift, a message, a memory. One child notices you and waves, then whispers without words, "Tell them we are not gone." You nod, heart suddenly heavier and lighter at once. Moving further, you reach a chamber where the walls flicker with scenes like firelit tapestries. Lives lived in quiet faith. Farmers, midwives, shepherds, teachers. Each soul here seems woven from patience and long-forgotten acts of love. One soul steps forward and gently takes your hand. They show you their life, not grand, not celebrated, but filled with tiny kindnesses. A bowl of soup handed to a stranger. A prayer whispered in the dark. A tear shed for someone else's pain. You feel that tear now, it rolls down your cheek. And then something beautiful happens. The chamber sings. Not with words, with recognition. Every act of love, no matter how small, becomes sound. And heaven has remembered all of them. Even the ones you forgot. You turn to look back, but the way you came is gone. Because forward is the only direction in heaven. The path bends downward once more, and suddenly the mist thickens into cloud. A hush spreads like velvet across your skin. You've arrived at the fourth chamber. It is darker here, not ominous, but still sacred. Here lie the souls of the unseen. The ones whose names were never spoken in honor. The ones whose faces never made it to memory. The ones who were erased by cruelty, by injustice, by the apathy of the world. But not by heaven. Here they glow in ways too deep for the eye. Like embers in ancient wood, they pulse with slow-burning dignity. Enoch hinted at this place, but only said there is a rest for the wronged, and it is beautiful. You see them now standing, sitting, some simply curled into balls of light. And above each, a word hangs, not a name. A truth, faithful, kind, silenced, honest. Still, they do not need names here, because heaven sees what they were made of, not what they were called. You move among them, gently aware that your presence is a privilege. One figure lifts its head. Eyes like galaxies blink slowly, and then without words, you receive a feeling that swells in your chest like sunrise. You are not here to save us, the soul says, but to remember us. You do. You will, because heaven never forgets. The air begins to rise subtly. The ground beneath your feet shimmers. You are being lifted. Not by force, but by invitation. The souls smile not with lips, but with radiance. A farewell, but not a goodbye. As you ascend from the resting hollows, one final whisper reaches you. Tell them, we are not asleep. You rise, mist parting again. The stars return, the air is lighter. And just ahead something waits. Not a voice, a scroll. Tightly sealed, glowing with fear and fire. Even Enoch hesitated to open it. But it waits now. For you? The scroll waits, motionless yet seething with energy. It hovers in the air, wrapped in tendrils of gold-threaded smoke that coil and uncoil like nervous breath. It doesn't call to you. It warns you softly like a parent whispering, "Only if you're ready." You pause. Because Enoch himself feared this. In his writings, he referred to scrolls that were never meant for human eyes, sealed not by locks, but by holiness. Words written in fire, he said, and guarded by silence. This must be one of them. You step closer. The air sharpens, not painfully intimately. It slices away distraction. Your thoughts still. Your heartbeat slows until it matches the quiet rhythm of the scroll's pulse. A whisper curls around your ears. Not a voice, a feeling pretending to be language. Knowledge is weight. Are you prepared to carry it? You are. The tendrils part like curtains, and the scroll opens not with a crack or creak, but with a sound like the first breath after birth. Inside, the words don't sit on paper. They hover in place, moving in and out of form, shimmering as if undecided whether they want to be seen at all. You begin to read. But reading isn't the right word. The scroll reads you back. Images flood your mind not as visions but as awarenesses. You see a river of light flowing from the feet of the eternal carving galaxies, into place with each bend. You feel the moment time was spoken into being like glass breaking softly under a velvet cloth. You know the names of things that don't have names in any tongue on earth, and then you see something else. A warning, a time when the balance tipped not by rebellion, but by forgetfulness, when humanity ceased to wonder, when knowledge became control, when sacred things were reduced to data points. It wasn't evil, it was numbness. The scroll sighs. One line glows brighter than the rest. The veil between wonder and weapon is thin. Some believe these scrolls were given to Adam after the fall, then passed down to Enoch and Noah, not to predict the future, but to protect wonder from being lost. Others argue these scrolls are alive, written by the breath of God, not pen or ink. You believe both. You reach toward the glowing line, and it lifts like ash from a fire, spiraling upward and vanishing into the air. You feel it settle into your chest. Not heavy. Hallowed. The scroll closes itself content, and then vanishes. You stand in the chamber alone but not empty. You now carry something unspeakable but known. Not a secret to hoard but a truth to become. Behind you a soft wind picks up, carrying the scent of cedar and myrrh. The kind of scent you imagine filled the Garden of Eden before the first shadow. A presence arrives. You don't turn, because you already know who it is. Metatron. Enoch changed, transformed, elevated. The one who walked with God and was not. He doesn't need a body to appear. He is the space around you. But tonight for you, he chooses form. He steps into sight, clothed in cascading layers of light and ink, his robe stitched with living names. He regards you not like a superior, like a sibling. You read what was not meant to be read, he says, but you did not misuse it. That is rare. You open your mouth to ask something, but he holds up one hand. Your questions are valid, he says, but the answers are still unfolding. Trust the unraveling. He walks with you now away from the vanished scroll. You move together through a corridor where the walls whisper with half-formed thoughts like prayers that haven't been prayed yet. He pauses. Points upward. Do you see it, he asks? At first, nothing. Then your eyes adjust. Above you hangs a ribbon of symbols twisting like a serpent made of words. They pulse with meaning just out of reach. It's your name, Metatron says, as heaven writes it. You stare. It is longer than you imagined. More luminous than you hoped. More honest than you're used to. It changes, he adds, every time you choose wonder over fear. And then he vanishes, not gone. Just one veil further. You walk forward. The path curves again, this time toward a sound. A low rumble, rhythmic, hollow, not threatening, weeping. Ahead is a hall carved from stone that glows with sorrow. The fallen ones are near, the Nephilim, and they are crying. The weeping grows louder, but not chaotic. It flows steady as rain against ancient stone. A rhythm, a confession repeating through centuries. You follow it into a chamber vast enough to echo stars. The air is cool here, heavy with something more than moisture. Regret. Enoch called it the place where the giants weep. The Nephilim, born of heaven and earth, not fully angel, not fully man. Beings caught in the space between rebellion and innocence. They were never meant to exist, and yet they did. And now they mourn. You step past a threshold marked by glowing runes, not warnings, griefs. Each one sings the story of a fallen child, a name, a moment, a mistake. The script trembles beneath your feet. Then you see them, kneeling in the shadows, immense forms folded into themselves like mountains caught mid-collapse. They don't look monstrous. They look tired, ancient. Their skin shimmers like stone soaked in moonlight. Their eyes flicker with the memory of skies they were never meant to see. One stirs. He turns. And even kneeling, he towers over you. But his gaze is small. Ashamed. I am Arakiel, he says. His voice is thunder strangled by sorrow. He doesn't threaten, he confesses. I loved your world too much, he whispers. And I didn't know how to let it go. His words fall heavy, not like weights, but like petals pressed between old pages. He tells you the story. He and his brothers were watchers once, sent to guide, to protect. But they saw your kind, the fragility, the striving, the moments of grace within pain. And they wanted to help. They descended. They taught. They loved. But the knowledge they gave once divine became corrupted. Mankind wasn't ready, wasn't steady. What began in compassion ended in ruin. The Nephilim were born giants with spirits too loud for the earth to hold. They lived, fought, ruled, and fell. And when the flood came, the bodies were washed away. But the souls were placed here by decree, by mercy, by consequence. You step deeper into the chamber. More figures emerge. Some are asleep, curled like infants. Some stare blankly at walls that no longer remember their touch. And some weep. Tears the size of rivers fall in silence. Enoch wrote that these beings pleaded with God, begging for their sons to be spared, their sins to be forgiven. But heaven was quiet, not cruel, quiet. Because sometimes silence is the answer. One of the Nephilim turns toward you. Her form is softer, less defined. You sense she remembers laughter, birds, the scent of rosemary. She whispers not in words, but in longing. Will you remember us gently? You nod. And as you do, something amazing happens. The chamber lightens, just slightly. Not from above, from within. Their sorrow lifts, not erased, not denied, but shared. And sharing even in eternity still heals. A gentle rumble begins, not from the walls, from their voices. A low harmony like a forgotten lullaby humming its way back to heaven. They sing not to be freed, but to be heard. And you become part of that song. Your breath slows, your heart aligns with the rhythm. For a moment, you are not a visitor. You are one of them, a soul caught between justice and compassion. The chamber breathes. And then a flicker, a shape in the distance, a doorway framed by bones of light and thunder. It doesn't call to you, but you know, your time here is ending. One final giant lifts his head and says, "Tell your kind that we meant well." You believe him? You bow not out of submission, out of solidarity, and then you step through the glowing arch. The sorrow fades behind you. Not silenced, not forgotten, heard. Ahead, you find yourself standing before something that should not exist. A tree. Not the tree of knowledge, not the tree of life, something else. A tree with eyes of fire. The light here doesn't flicker. It watches. The tree stands at the center of a clearing, its roots buried in nothing visible, its trunk wide enough to hold a cathedral. Bark like ancient bronze curls upward in thick, knotted spirals, each coil bearing inscriptions too alive to stay still. They shift as you approach like the surface of a deep pool that reflects not just your face, but your essence. This is the tree Enoch would not describe in full. He called it the tree with eyes of fire. Not because it sees, because it remembers. The leaves glow, each one small, translucent, and aflame without burning. They don't rustle in wind. They shimmer in response to thought, to presence. And when you look closer, you realize they blink. Every leaf, an eye. Some are closed in rest, some are wide with awe. One blinks directly at you, and somehow that's not alarming. It's comforting, like being recognized by something that knows you more honestly than any person ever could. You approach the trunk. It hums, not a sound, a truth. It vibrates with recognition. And then a soft breath, not yours, passes over your shoulders. A voice not male, not female, not even verbal, enters your mind like a dawn. You've come far enough to be seen. Your hands rise without effort, not in worship, in welcome. The tree responds. A section of bark peels gently outward, revealing an inner glow. It's not light, it's awareness. And then, like mist forming into shapes you begin to see. The tree shows you what it has seen. Angels being formed from the breath of the holy. The fall of one who refused to kneel before humanity. The moment light touched chaos and whispered, "Let there be." You see laughter shared between Adam and Eve before the choice. You see Enoch writing by a stream, tears falling not from sorrow, but from the sheer weight of what he knew. And you see yourself, not the you from earlier today. The first you, the soul before the body, the spark before the dust. The tree lets you remember not through explanation, but through feeling. You see every time you wondered if your prayers meant anything. They did. You see the smallest kindness you gave without realizing it was divine. It was. You see the moment heaven first hoped for you. Yes, heaven hoped. Because hope isn't just something for the broken. It's something even the perfect do when they love something not yet complete. The eyes on the tree blink in rhythm. You are being studied, and not judged. Cataloged, celebrated, known. Then the trunk begins to ripple again, and a single branch bends toward you. A leaf detaches, floats, hovers, settles onto your shoulder. It doesn't burn. It warms. You feel a pulse through your entire body like a new heartbeat laid gently on top of the old one. And the thought returns, You are seen. Some scholars believe this tree stands between the realms of mercy and memory. Others argue it's the spiritual counterpart to Eden's trees, neither forbidden nor nourishing, but awakening. You believe both, because the tree is neither good nor evil. It simply is. A recorder, a witness, a participant in eternity. The ground beneath it begins to shimmer, and you realize this place is not permanent, not still. It shifts for each visitor. This grove may never look the same again. The leaf on your shoulder dissolves into light, then disappears into your skin. You don't feel changed. You feel recognized, and that changes everything. You take one final glance at the tree. Its eyes blink slowly like closing in prayer. Then you turn. A soft glow marks a new path, this one lined with stones shaped like suns. Each one hums softly under your feet. Enoch wrote of what comes next, though few believed him, the place where the sun sleeps, where light itself goes to rest. Not to end, to pause. And there, waiting patiently on the horizon, is a gate that glows with sunset and memory. You walk toward it, and the tree watches you leave, not to hold on, but to remember you forever. The gate ahead shimmers with twilight, not the dimming kind that signals day's end, but the sacred kind that feels like the hush before something holy. You step forward, and the warmth meets you halfway. It's not heat, it's welcome. This is what Enoch called the place where the sun sleeps. But don't be misled, this isn't a graveyard for stars. It's a resting place. A place where light takes a breath, where even radiance pauses to reflect. The gate is wide-rimmed in stone that hums with sunset. Not orange, not red. Something in between, like the memory of fire filtered through peace. You pass through, and immediately you feel it. Stillness. Not silence, not emptiness, stillness. The sky is low here, arched like the inside of a great dome. It glows from within no visible source, just presence. The kind of light that makes you whisper instinctively. Even your thoughts feel softer. The path winds through fields of golden mist. You don't walk through fog. You walk with it. It moves like a companion, wrapping gently around your ankles, brushing your hands as if greeting a familiar soul. In the distance, the sun rests, not setting, not rising. Simply suspended. Cupped between two hills like an offering placed gently in divine hands. It doesn't move across the sky. The sky moves around it. And now you see them. Figures. Not many, just a few. Sitting cross-legged in the mist, not meditating, not praying, just being. These are the keepers of light. They don't shine, they glow. The difference matters here. They notice you, but they don't stare. One nods slightly, acknowledging your presence as one would a fellow traveler at the end of a long road. There's no curiosity, no surprise. Just recognition. You take a seat not by command, but by instinct. The ground is soft, cool, and shaped to your form as though it's been waiting centuries just to hold you. One of the keepers speaks. Or perhaps not speaks, just sends the thought through the air. The sun remembers every face it's ever touched. You look toward the glowing sphere ahead. It flickers not like a flame, but like a heart, a pulse. And then it shifts. It shows you scenes not in flashbacks, but in warmth. Every time you stood in sunlight and closed your eyes, that was this moment. The warmth on your skin, it was more than light. It was reminder that you are seen, that you are alive, that your breath matters. The keeper continues. Light doesn't only shine forward. Sometimes it shines backward, revisiting those who need to be remembered. You realize something profound. The sun doesn't sleep out of weariness. It sleeps out of mercy. So that darkness can be cherished, not feared. That's the real secret. This place isn't a burial. It's a pause. A moment for radiance to listen. You rise now gently. The sun pulses once more, and a faint warmth curls around your spine like the final touch of a loved one's hand before farewell. And just before you turn away, a voice clear, gentle, unhurried whispers from within the sun itself. You carry light too. The path forward glows softly beneath your feet, and now something shifts in the air. You feel movement again. Wings no, not quite. Presences. You walk toward a new horizon where discipline and mystery merge. For there, in a silent glen of woven sky and whispering leaves, wait the angels who refuse their orders. The light from the resting sun fades behind you, not in darkness, but in deference, as if excusing itself so the next mystery may enter. The air sharpens slightly, like it's listening now. The mist thins. The colors shift. You're not ascending. You're not descending. You're being invited. The path curves through a forest that isn't made of trees. It's made of pillars, tall shafts of translucent sky that flicker between transparency and reflection. When you pass each one, it doesn't show your face, it shows your resolve. And with every step, the reflections grow stronger. Then the clearing opens, a wide flat space, soft as a chapel, quiet as a heartbeat. At its center, 3 figures, still, radiant, but not glowing like the others. They shimmer with dissonance like their light has been turned sideways, not broken, bent. You found them. The angels who refused their orders. They turn to face you. There's no aggression in their movements, no pride, no defense, just presence. One steps forward. His robe is ragged at the edges, not from decay, but from tension. The fabric itself struggles to decide what it wants to be. He bows his head slightly. "I am Remuel," he says. A pause. "We were told to destroy." Another pause. "And we didn't." His voice is not ashamed, but it carries weight. You've heard of angels who fell out of pride. You've met one who burned from compassion. But these 3, they disobeyed because they hesitated. Because the order didn't feel right. Enoch mentioned them only once obliquely. He wrote of those who remained still when fire was commanded. No names, no judgments. Just the echo of a pause that reverberated across heaven. You listen. Another speaks her voice like quiet thunder held behind a veil. "We were not punished," she says. And then gently, "We were not praised either." The 3rd angel steps forward. He has no wings, not because they were taken, because he laid them down. When God gave the order, he explains, we felt the echo in our cores. But something inside us held still. You ask no questions. You don't need to. They're not here to defend themselves. They're here to be understood. They tell you the story. It wasn't a test. It wasn't a trap. It was a moment in the eternal unfolding of divine justice. And in that moment, when punishment was decreed, they hesitated. They saw faces, not statistics. They saw the trembling of the innocent tangled among the guilty. They could not raise their hands. And so they stepped back. Not in rebellion, in grief. The consequences? They were not cast down. They were moved aside, assigned no more commands, given no more battles. They became what you see now, the witnesses of withheld judgment. They roam these outer courts of heaven not as warriors, not as messengers, but as reminders. Reminders that even obedience must be balanced with discernment. Some theologians have argued, but angels cannot question. Perhaps, but these ones did not question God. They questioned their own capacity to carry out what they didn't understand. And heaven let them. Here's the twist. One of them smiles, not sadly, softly. "Do you know what we became?" he asks. You shake your head. "Compassion," he says, in physical form, carried by wind, whispered in dreams, found in the space between cause and effect. You understand now. These angels didn't fall. They stepped aside, so mercy could enter the world unseen. One of them lifts a hand, not toward you, but toward the stars now blooming overhead. "You've met the sun where it sleeps," she says. "Now meet the one who guards the gate of entry." A new glow forms ahead, pale, quiet, like a book being opened by candlelight. And you know, you're being led toward the first true threshold, a being who holds more than keys. He holds faces, the gatekeeper, and he's already looking for yours. The path ahead narrows not from constraint, but from focus. The air feels more intentional now, like it's guiding every footstep. Each breath is deeper, cleaner, laced with something unnameable, like the scent of rain mixed with memory. You're nearing a threshold, but not just any threshold. The threshold. The place where souls are recognized not by what they've done, but by who they've become. The gatekeeper stands just ahead. Not in front of a gate, but as the gate. He is tall, no wings, no sword, no robe of fire. Instead, he wears a long coat made of shifting images like a tapestry of lives passing through him. As you draw closer, you see faces moving across the fabric, millions, maybe more. Not frozen portraits. Moments. A woman lighting a candle. A child petting a stray dog. An old man forgiving someone who never apologized. Each face flickers, then fades, replaced by another and another. The gatekeeper's eyes are unlike anything you've seen in heaven or earth. They do not shine. They see. Deeply, completely, quietly. And now they see you. He tilts his head not to analyze you, but to frame you. Like a master artist checking the placement of a stroke on a divine canvas. You don't speak. He does. But his voice doesn't enter your ears. It enters your timeline. You feel it echo in your past. You feel it answering questions you asked years ago. You feel it brushing against future thoughts you haven't even had yet. "I remember you," he says. Simple, weightless. But you stagger slightly. because in his voice you sense the weight of every soul he's ever welcomed. Every name, every tear, every praise, and every silent scream, none forgotten. You ask him not aloud, but inwardly, "How do you carry us all?" He replies with a faint smile, "I don't carry, I keep." You step closer. His coat shifts again. This time it shows you. Not once, several times. You as a child looking up at the stars, wondering if anyone was listening. You in darkness whispering a prayer into your pillow. You smiling even when no one was watching. You becoming... The image fades, and he nods just slightly. Not to signal approval, to signal familiarity. "I have never forgotten your arrival," he says. And then he turns. Behind him a doorway. It is unlike anything you've seen before. It's not made of light or stone or fire. It's made of remembrance. The very air around it flickers, with moments not just yours, but everyone's. Like echoes of footsteps across eternity, layered into the architecture of access. This gate, the gatekeeper explains, does not open to movement. It opens to recognition. He steps aside. And the gate waits. For you, you take a deep breath. You don't have to push. You just remember. And as you do every act of courage, every offering of kindness, every unseen choice made in love, the gate begins to shimmer. Not because you are perfect, because you are known. The door folds open like a sigh. And beyond it, you see a river, but not of water, of prophecy. Moving backward and forward at once, flowing not through land but through soul. The gatekeeper speaks one final time. "You carry many faces," he says, "but only one light. Protect it." You nod. You step through. The doorway closes behind you, not locked, just finished. And ahead, the river begins to whisper. It doesn't promise answers. It offers dreams. You follow the current now, toward the place where waters speak. The ground disappears beneath your feet, not in collapse, but in surrender. You're not falling, you're floating, carried now not by light, not by wind, but by the slow-moving current of something much older, prophecy. It flows like a river, wide and glistening, but its surface isn't made of water. It's a smooth, silken mirror. And as you drift across it, you don't see your reflection. You see possibility moments you've dreamed, choices you haven't yet made, and threads of story still curling inward from distant futures. This is what Enoch called the river of words unspoken. He wrote of a place where the waters themselves hold secrets not from cruelty but from mercy, where only those who listen, not demand, are allowed to drink. You arrive at the bank, soft as moss, shimmering like midnight silk. The air is quiet, not absent, reverent. A figure waits by the shore, tall, rigid posture, robed in layers of transparent fabric, each layer swirling with letters that never finish forming. Their face is unreadable, not hidden, just too radiant to name. Not male, not female, just angelic. This is Sahakiel, the angel of heavenly speech, keeper of divine utterance, guardian of every word God has not yet spoken. You don't need to introduce yourself. They already know why you're here. You wish to understand, they say, what cannot be explained. You pause, because yes, that's true. Sahakiel steps aside and gestures toward the river. Then listen, the river responds. At first there's no sound, only sensation. It wraps around you gently, not wet, not cold, just present. It whispers into your bones like dreams settling beneath skin. You hear it, a name. Yours, not your earth name, your origin name, the name you were known by before time clothed you in matter. It hums in your chest, resonating like a chord plucked on a divine instrument. The river begins to sing, not in melody, in memory. It tells you a story you didn't know was yours. You once stood at the edge of a decision that could have altered an entire bloodline. You once gave a kindness that prevented a soul from choosing despair. You once turned away from vengeance, and the ripple reached farther than you could possibly imagine. You cry not because it hurts, because it matters. Even the smallest thing you did in love was recorded in this water. And here's the curious part. Some stories don't belong to you. Not yet. They wait beside the current like leaves on the edge of a breeze, waiting to see if you will step into them. The river holds them all. Sahakiel speaks again. There are two ways to hear prophecy, they say. You can demand the answer. They pause, gaze tilting slightly. Or you can become it. You step into the river. It does not pull you under. It pulls you inward. Visions rise like steam. A world not broken, but becoming. A doorway that appears only when you forgive someone you've never met. A light inside your chest that only glows when you speak truth with love. You realize this isn't just a river. It's a threshold. And now it asks you something in a tone both delicate and undeniable. What will you carry back? You reach down and scoop some of the shimmering liquid into your hands. It vibrates, then settles into your palms like cool silk. It sinks into your skin, becoming memory, becoming dream, becoming seed. The river dims slightly. It has said what it needed to say. Sahakiel nods once deeply. You did not ask for too much, they say. And then they vanish. Not with fanfare, like silence stepping away. A stone bridge appears ahead, arched and glowing with unreadable script. It waits for you. You cross it. And on the other side, the light sharpens. You're not in the realm of vision now. You're entering something more ancient. Beast-like. Eyes upon eyes. Wings upon wings. A silence so deep it shapes space itself. The celestial beast awaits. Not to test you, to be witnessed. The bridge fades behind you, not with finality, but with trust, like a chapter willingly turning its own page. Ahead, the ground pulses with light that doesn't illuminate. It reveals, not details, depth. This place doesn't echo. It absorbs sound like it wants your silence more than your questions. You step forward. And there it is. Massive. Still, alive in a way that makes your heartbeat hesitate. The celestial beast of the end days. Enoch called it a creature not made of flesh or flame, but of convergence. A being shaped by the echoes of judgment, wrapped in purpose, seated outside time. It doesn't move, but it knows you're here. Its body is formed of concentric rings, rotating in slow, divine rhythm. Each ring is inscribed with symbols from languages not yet spoken on Earth. Some rings pulse with stars, others with what look like eyes, hundreds blinking slowly, all looking inward, none outward. It has no face. But you don't need one. The presence is absolute. Some say this being is the final recorder. Others say it will speak only once at the very end, when the last soul has chosen, when time folds itself into silence. Whatever the truth is, you feel it breathing through the air, through your bones. You stand in front of it, small, but not uninvited. It does not roar, it remembers. Its many eyes begin to flicker. Slowly they open outward, not looking at you, but into you. And then, a sound. Not music, not language. A vibration that passes through your soul like thunder underwater. And within it, you hear your own name, not spoken, unfolded. Like a truth long buried suddenly lifting its own head. The beast is not here to end you. It's here to show you what endings mean. Visions spin around you. You see forests breathing again after centuries of silence. You see cities empty of violence. You see a single mother's prayer reshaping the fate of an entire bloodline. You see someone, possibly yourself, choosing silence over accusation, and that choice unraveling a war before it begins. These are not prophecies. They are possibilities. The celestial beast is a mirror of what might be, depending not on destiny, but on the direction of the soul. Its silence now surrounds you. It weighs nothing, and everything. Then it speaks not with voice, but with feeling so powerful your knees almost buckle. Judgment is not wrath, judgment is revealing. That's when you realize this being doesn't decide. It shows. It is the unveiling, and it has just unveiled you. You see clearly now not your flaws or virtues, but your potential. The exact weight of what your life could hold if aligned with heaven's rhythm. And it is beautiful, and heavy, and real. The rings around the beast slow each layer, gently easing into stillness. The eyes close again one by one. The air shifts. Not colder, not warmer. Clearer. The beast begins to dim, not vanishing, just returning to its rhythm. You are changed. Not cleansed, clarified. And now in the silence it leaves behind, a single line settles in your spirit like dew. You are still becoming. A soft wind rises, pulling your gaze to the horizon. There is a door there, not made of stone or light, made of time. And on the other side, a courtroom, where even the centuries were once on trial. You take a step, and the ground carries you forward, not with urgency, with invitation. The wind carries you toward the threshold like a tide ushering in a soul meant to return. You're not walking, you're arriving. And ahead, tall, wide, solemn, stands a door that shimmers like sand caught in golden hour. It isn't locked. It isn't guarded. It's simply waiting. You touch it, and it sighs open, not with creak or clatter, but with reverence. The room beyond is circular, domed, carved from what looks like dark crystal, shot through with veins of silver and flame. Light moves through it slowly, as though time itself is thick here. You have entered the courtroom where time was judged. Enoch described it only once and briefly. He said it was the place where the ages were laid bare, not to be condemned, but to be weighed. The floor pulses beneath you as you step inside. This isn't a place of punishment. It's a place of reckoning. The walls are etched with rings like those found inside trees, each one representing a slice of time. Not calendar years, moments, inflection points. Decades born from a single act of mercy. Entire centuries pivoting on one whispered yes or no. At the center of the room floats a great scale, but it doesn't balance sin against virtue. It balances consequence against intent. You step closer, and the courtroom responds. Figures appear not ghosts, not angels, but manifestations of memory. They glow softly, shaped by the choices they were born from. One moment walks forward a father who chose silence over rage. Another, a stranger's unexpected kindness on a war-torn street. Another, a child's prayer for someone they'll never meet. They bow not to you, but to each other. Because in this room, no moment exists alone. Everything echoes. Everything returns. A soft chime rings out, not from the air, but from within you, and then the keeper appears. A being robed in time itself, threads woven from dawn, dusk, midnight, and things in between. Their face shifts constantly. Young, ancient, laughing, grieving like they are made from every human moment, lived too deeply to forget. They look at you and smile. You've come to see the trial, they say. You don't speak, because somehow you have. The keeper lifts one hand and gestures toward the scale. Today it is not time that stands accused, they say. It is perspective. You blink, and the courtroom changes. Now you're watching scenes unfold, not visions of the past, interpretations. A woman crying in a darkened room. To one soul she is lost, to another she is praying, to a third she is birthing hope. All true, but all incomplete alone. This room reveals what Enoch could not write down, that every act carries a constellation of meaning, and heaven weighs all of them. The keeper turns again. Time, they explain, is not linear here. It's layered, and each layer carries mercy or shadow depending on the eyes that see it. You understand. The trial is not about events. It's about what we become through them. The scale tips gently, then rises. No judgment is declared. Instead, a warmth spreads across the room. Understanding. Every moment has a voice, and here every voice is heard. The keeper steps forward and holds out their hand. Inside it, a sphere, glowing, breathing, familiar. It is your own timeline. Not the things you've done, but the shape of how you've loved, hesitated, hoped, feared, forgiven. It spins slowly, waiting. You reach out, and for the first time you hold yourself. Not your body. You're becoming. And in doing so, something inside you breathes deeper. You are not here to be measured. You are here to be mirrored. The sphere pulses once, then gently dissolves into your chest. It becomes yours again, not to carry as burden, but to carry as witness. The keeper bows once deeply. You are ready. Ready for what you don't ask. Because you already feel it, the radiance ahead. Not a place, a presence. You turn. The courtroom dissolves, behind you not a raise, just no longer needed. And ahead, a light too bright for even Enoch, one he could not describe, but one you are now invited to see. You take a breath, though you don't need to, because what lies ahead will not ask you to breathe, it will breathe through you. The air thins not in lack, but in purity. It no longer holds the scent of incense or the hush of waiting souls. It carries only light. But this is not light like you've ever known. It doesn't illuminate. It remakes. You move forward, though move is a generous word. It's more like you're drawn, pulled not by gravity, but by grace. And there it is. The realm, or perhaps the moment. Enoch called it the vision too bright for sight, the place where even the most faithful begged for blindness. A realm of radiance so full of truth, even angels veil their faces not to protect themselves, but to protect you. You approach, your eyes don't burn. They change. They shift away from seeing shapes and toward sensing essence. And what you behold now is not a throne, nor a form, nor a gate. It's presence. It has no edge, no color, no sound. And yet it speaks to every part of you that has ever ached to be known. This is the radiant veil, the divine frequency, where glory pulses at its highest rhythm, where all names dissolve and all masks are lifted. You step into it, and for a moment, you forget your story. You forget your questions. You even forget your form. And in that forgetting, you are remembered. The light floods you, not like a spotlight, like a return. Every act of kindness you've done, every wound you've ever nursed, every hesitation turned into mercy, it all rises into this light and is received as worship. Even the things you thought were small, the light whispers without words. None of it was wasted. Somewhere far below or far before you hear Enoch's voice, not speaking, singing, not aloud, within, a melody made of awe, a chord only the soul can carry. He sang this, they say, when he stood here. When he beheld what you now behold, and when he could no longer bear the sight, he became part of it. You begin to understand why Enoch was taken, not as reward, as necessity. Some visions are so complete, they unmake the boundary between witness and wonder. He didn't leave Earth. Earth could no longer hold him. And here you are, held, bathed, undone but not destroyed. The radiant veil pulses once more, and something deeper unfurls inside you like wings made of memory and fire. They do not lift you. They settle you, anchor you in a kind of peace that is louder than joy, quieter than sorrow. And in that stillness, you see something no one else can. Your future, not in time, in glory, not achievements, essence. You see the echo you'll leave, not in fame, in how someone someday will forgive because of you. The radiant veil closes slightly, folding you back into self, but not your old self. A self that has seen, a self that now carries light on the inside of their breath. You blink, and when your eyes return to form, you see something ahead. Not new, true. A layered staircase woven from shimmering levels of reality, each one glowing with a different hue of heaven. And at the top, a chamber where the real number of heavens is finally made clear. Enoch hinted at it. Others speculated. But you're about to know. The staircase appears to ripple as you approach, not from motion, but from meaning. It isn't fixed. It adjusts itself to your presence. Every step reflects a layer of you memory, desire, shadow, hope. You begin to ascend, and the strange thing is, each step feels both familiar and foreign, like returning to a place you've never seen. This is the stairway to the true heavens. You'd always heard there were 3 heavens. Enoch said there were 7. Some texts whisper of 10, others 13. And now here before you, the number seems flexible, fluid, alive. At the top of each step, a doorway appears, not in the shape of an arch or gate, but in the shape of a question, a longing, a why. You walk through the first, the air shifts. It's a realm of music, strings and winds, and notes from instruments not yet invented. Each sound doesn't merely echo, it blooms. The air hums with worship that has never needed words. You feel it tangle around your ribs like joy that forgot how to be small. You ask yourself, is this the first heaven? And something inside you answers, it is a first. You continue. The second doorway opens without resistance. It leads into silence, but not absence. The silence of the moment just before a child is born, or the second before a bell rings. The realm hums with anticipation. Time slows until it feels like it's listening. This heaven teaches you that sometimes pausing is holy. You move on. The third heaven blazes with color, impossible hues that have never been named. They shimmer with identity, and yet they change each time you glance at them. Every color feels like a soul that finally knows what it is. The beings here float not flying, but resting mid-becoming. Their laughter sounds like sunrise. You want to stay, but something calls you upward. The fourth heaven opens before you like a scroll unraveling itself. This realm is made of stories, living narratives. You walk through them. One story wraps around your ankle like a vine and tells you of a fisherman who forgave the man who stole everything. Another circles your wrist and sings of a widow who gave her last coin and was never forgotten. These aren't just tales. They're scriptures in motion. Every life lived in love becomes a sacred text here. You pass on. The fifth heaven stuns you, not with beauty, with honesty. Here, every soul shines with its full truth without defense or distortion. There's no need to impress, no pressure to pretend. Even the light here feels authentic, like the glow of a candle that refuses to be anything but itself. And here's the miracle. No one is ashamed. You leave with a strange ache, not sadness, longing. You continue. The sixth heaven is quiet, but everything moves. Time flows backward and forward simultaneously. You watch angels writing futures into rivers while others gently erase regrets from trees. It is here you realize heaven is not static. It is responsive. It doesn't just exist. It evolves. And then finally you reach the seventh stair. You expect brilliance. But what greets you is stillness. A meadow. A sky so wide it feels like a breath held since the beginning. And at its center a mirror. It stands alone. Silver, simple, unmoving. You approach. And what you see isn't your face. It's the sum of all the heavens you've passed through. They live in your eyes now. And in the space between your ribs. You are no longer climbing. You are becoming. And then another stare appears. Smaller, dimmer, a whisper of possibility. You glance back and realize something extraordinary. The number of heavens is not fixed, because each soul brings a new one with them. Each act of compassion, every sacrifice, every whisper of grace, builds another level. And so some believe there are 10 heavens, others 72, and now you know there are as many heavens as there are ways to love. You step forward again. The mirror fades behind you, and up ahead, wrapped in snow and silence, awaits the angel of winter and stillness. He has been waiting for you. The air cools not with harshness, but with reverence. A stillness falls like snow, too polite to make a sound. The light here is pale, but not weak. It's the kind of light you find at dawn in the coldest places on earth, the light that doesn't demand attention, but commands it by simply being. You step forward and every movement feels like it's happening inside a cathedral made of ice and sky. This is where the angel of snow and silence resides. You don't see him at first, because he doesn't approach. He waits, not in arrogance, in invitation. The ground beneath your feet begins to change. What once shimmered with layered heavens now frosts over soft white mist, rising like breath from unseen lips. Each footstep leaves no imprint, as if this realm holds no grudges, no records, no demands. Then you see him. He stands at the edge of a frozen lake, cloaked in a robe of falling snowflakes that never quite land. His skin glows with a faint, icy luminescence like moonlight pressed into form. His wings, if they exist, are folded so tightly they vanish into the air behind him. His eyes are closed, not out of blindness, out of preference. This is a being who listens more than he sees. You don't speak. It feels wrong to break the quiet. Instead, you wait. And after a long moment, he opens his eyes. They are white, not from emptiness, from fullness. Like they've looked into silence long enough to see everything hidden beneath the noise. He nods slightly. "I am Tsafkil," he says, "angel of the seventh quiet, keeper of the still moments." His voice is like ice melting on warm stone. He gestures toward the frozen lake. "This is where forgotten prayers settle," he says. "Not ignored, kept." You look into the lake, and there beneath the surface countless flickers of light. Each one a prayer that was spoken too softly for the world to hear. A child's whispered hope beneath their blanket. A mother's trembling breath after hearing bad news. A stranger's silent plea for a sign. All of them. Preserved. Unanswered. No. Pending. Tsafkil kneels by the water's edge and places one hand over the ice. A crack forms not loud, just enough for one small orb of light to rise. He offers it to you. This one is yours. You don't recognize it. Until you do. It's a prayer you barely remember saying. Maybe you didn't even use words. But heaven heard it, and the angel kept it safe. It doesn't matter that you forgot. What matters is he didn't. You hold the light in your hands. It's weightless but meaningful, like holding a promise made by the universe on your behalf. The angel speaks again. "Silence is not absence," he says. "It is the sound of heaven holding its breath." You blink, and when you open your eyes, he's already gone. The snow remains, but the lake fades. You are standing now in a narrow corridor of soft frost and starlight. The path ahead flickers with warmth again. You've passed through silence. Now comes the sound. The next chamber isn't vast. It's sacred. You'll enter the hallway where prayers are weighed, and you will feel every word you've ever meant. The frost melts away as you step forward, not in haste, but in reverence. The corridor ahead hums not loudly, but constantly, like a distant bell that never finishes ringing. The air is scented with incense, but not from earth. This is the fragrance of intention of words launched upward in desperation, in joy, in surrender. You've arrived at the chamber where prayers are weighed. Enoch once wrote of this place only in metaphors, a hall where breath becomes feather and feathers become flame. But now, standing at its threshold, you understand what he meant. The room is dim not with shadow, but with softness. It's lit entirely by floating motes of golden light like candle flames suspended mid-air, each one pulsing gently with purpose. A long central path stretches before you, flanked by massive scales, not metal, not wood, but made of some divine alloy you can't name. These aren't instruments of judgment. They are translators. Every scale has two sides. One side holds a prayer, the other holds its weight. You step closer to one. Above it floats a familiar glow. As it flickers, it whispers not in words, but in feeling. You know this prayer. It was yours. Spoken in a moment of fear. "I just want to know you're near you had once breathed into the dark." The scale trembles. And on the other side, It tilts, not from guilt or merit, from sincerity. Safko's words echo in your spirit. Silence is the sound of heaven holding its breath. And now in this room, heaven releases that breath. Each prayer you've ever meant hovers into sight, not all at once, one by one. A prayer spoken without hope. A prayer muttered with bitter honesty. A prayer you thought too selfish to be heard. They're all here. They were heard. One rises now, fluttering like a silk ribbon in slow motion. It floats toward another scale. This one is different. The two sides don't weigh against each other. They harmonize. As the prayer settles, music erupts, soft, celestial, layered with tones you didn't know existed. This is a song of intention. Some prayers, it seems, are not answered with events. They're answered with echoes. The air around you begins to shimmer, not with heat, with remembrance. Other people's prayers start to appear. A stranger who once asked for protection. A grandfather's silent plea that his granddaughter wouldn't carry his burdens. A mother's prayer to survive the night. You see them, you feel them. And some touched you. You didn't know it at the time, but you now realize part of your life's peace wasn't earned. It was gifted. You walk slowly through the chamber, and the scales continue to tilt and sway, not to judge but to sing. This is what Enoch could not bear, to fully record the sound of prayers living beyond their words. A gentle figure approaches from the far end of the hall. Her form is woven from starlight and breath. She doesn't speak. She simply hands you a feather. It glows softly, humming in your palm. It's not a symbol. It's one of your own prayers returned. You asked for peace, and now it's ready to become action. You nod, and the feather rises into your chest, becoming breath once more. You feel lighter, but not because something left you, because something completed. The final scale hums at the far end. Not for others, for those who never knew how to pray. Their silence, their sighs, their pain, they've been gathered too. Even non-prayers have weight here, because heaven listens not just to voices, it listens to hearts. You step into the light now, pouring in through a hallway of ivory and fire. The chamber dims behind you. The scales keep tilting. And up ahead, a path veers off, sharp, narrow, lined with symbols no soul has yet translated. It leads to a place Enoch would not go. A place even angels turned from. But it has opened for you. Because now you're being shown the hidden path Enoch refused to follow. The hallway narrows. Not with walls, but with intention. Each step forward feels like stepping deeper into a choice you haven't fully made yet. The light here flickers not from instability, but from testing. It asks wordlessly, will you see what Enoch would not? This is the hidden path Enoch refused to follow. It doesn't boast, it doesn't warn, it simply waits. The symbols lining the walls pulse gently, not in sequence, in rhythm. They beat like a second heart outside your chest, each one glowing faintly as you pass. You try to read them, but the letters aren't of any known language. They seem to recognize you more than they expect you to understand them. That's the thing about this path. It doesn't reward intellect. It responds to readiness. You step through an archway made of thought and light, and instantly the air changes. It's not hostile, just watchful. You are in a realm that has seen too much to welcome easily. And then you feel it. A presence, not above, not ahead, within. It's been with you this whole time, whispering at the edges of your journey, never interrupting. Now it speaks. Even heaven has doors it doesn't reopen lightly. You pause. Because, this is not a place of danger. This is a place of depth. Enoch reached this fork in his vision and turned away, not from fear, but obedience. He was told this knowledge is not yet for earth, and he accepted that silence. But tonight the door opens, and you are not on earth. You continue. The path twists through veils, not physical, but emotional. One veil is woven from every question you never voiced. Another is spun from moments you refuse to forgive yourself for. As you pass through each, they dissolve not because you solved them, because you faced them. And then you reach the room. It's not a chamber. It's an absence. A vast circular space where there is no floor, no ceiling, only reflection. You look around and see everything you almost became. Not failures, versions. A you who never loved. A you who gave up too early. A you who hurt out of fear. And strangely, they are beautiful too. Not in action, in honesty. This place does not judge these versions. It holds them, it mourns them. It tells them you were possible. You were loved even in potential. The space around you hums. And then a choice appears. Literally, a door. And beside it a path leading downward into shadow, not evil, unknowing. And that's when you understand. This is the path of the what if, the divine alternate, the part of heaven that catalogs what never came to be and blesses it anyway. Most never walk this far. Even angels avoid it. Because here you don't learn about God. You learn about freedom, and how frightening, how sacred, how eternal it truly is. A voice whispers, "This is the price of choice, to carry the grace for what you never chose." You do not walk the shadowed path. You're not meant to, but you are allowed to see it. And seeing it changes you. You bow your head not in submission, in awe, and the door ahead opens. A light pours through, gentle, inviting, alive. It leads you into a space of sound again. A sound you don't hear with your ears. A choir, but one with no mouths. Only presence. The light from the door spills into you before you even step through. It doesn't push, it soothes. Like music you forgot you loved, suddenly playing from another room. You pass through the doorway, and immediately sound enfolds you, but no voices sing. This is the choir with no mouths. A vast chamber opens high and endless. The walls are invisible, not absent, just uninterested in boundaries. The entire space vibrates gently, like the air itself has chosen to become a song. You take a step, the sound deepens. It isn't a note, it's a feeling somewhere between longing and joy. It lands in your chest and blooms outward. Your breath slows, your heartbeat syncs with the hum. Then you see them, the choir, countless beings. Not angels, not souls, not exactly. Forms of light and resonance. No eyes, no mouths, no wings. Just sound made visible. Each hovers in stillness yet shimmers like a flame caught mid-dance. They don't look at you, but they sense you. And as you stand before them, one begins to glow brighter. You don't hear it. You feel its tone rising from your feet to your crown. It is singing a moment you forgot, a kindness you gave without needing thanks, a forgiveness you offered that no one saw. That moment became song. The others begin to harmonize, not because they must, because they can. Each joins in not with words but with intent. Together they form a harmony so wide, so whole it doesn't reach your ears. It reaches your timeline. The past in you bows. The future in you stretches forward. And the present in you, it dissolves into melody. You realize these beings sing not to worship, not to instruct, but to echo. They are the archive of every unspoken act of love, every silent surrendered sacred choice. One being draws closer, not walking, vibrating toward you. Their hum takes on the shape of memory. You understand it instantly. It is the time you stayed with someone while they cried, even though you had nothing to say. You thought you failed them, but heaven turned that silence into a verse. You close your eyes and the music wraps around you like warmth in winter. This choir has no need for applause, for glory, for performance. It exists to prove one thing, that what is whispered in love outlasts what is shouted in power. And then slowly the harmony begins to fade. Not because it ends, because it rests. One final vibration lingers and then silence, but not absence. Completion. The beings hover, still shimmering, still whole. You bow not to them, to what they carry, and then a breeze rises. Not cool. Pure. It brushes past your shoulders, and the path ahead unfurls, not stone, not light, but something warmer. Grace. You step forward. And before you, glowing at the edge of the realm, is a door unlike any other. Its frame is carved from forgiveness. Its handle is made of light that has already let go. And beyond it, the realm of preemptive mercy, the light that forgives in advance. It waits with open hands, and it knows your name. The path softens beneath your feet, like stepping into fabric woven from memory and warmth. The light ahead doesn't beckon, it embraces. It glows not from above, but from within everything it touches, as if the space itself has already decided to love you before you arrive. This is the light that forgives in advance. You step through the threshold. There is no door, because mercy never locks itself away. The space is unlike any realm you've visited so far. There are no thrones, no watchers, no chambers of flame. Only a field of golden mist that rises to your chest and moves like breath. Shapes shimmer within it, flickers of people, choices, regrets, redemption. But none of them are frozen. They are all in motion, because forgiveness here is not final. It is living. You walk slowly through the field. Around you, glowing threads stretch between figures and events. Each thread is a story of pain that could have become a scar, but didn't. Some of the threads are connected to you. You see one, the moment you almost judged someone who reminded you of a part of yourself you hadn't healed yet. The thread pulses not with shame, but with relief, because in that moment, you paused. And heaven saw the pause. Another thread appears. A person you unintentionally hurt and never realized. The thread leads not to your guilt, but to the grace that covered the gap. A soft voice hums across the field, not words, just awareness. Heaven forgives what you haven't yet known to grieve. You fall to your knees, not in sorrow, in thankfulness. This is the realm that proves the divine doesn't wait for you to earn peace. It plants it ahead of you like a candle lit down a hallway you haven't walked yet. You feel the light begin to settle on your skin, not burning, not glowing, just present. And in this presence, something inside you begins to change, not in shape, in weight. You're lighter, not because your mistakes were erased, but because they are no longer alone. Each one has been held, seen, understood, and somehow even before you said sorry, forgiven, a figure appears nearby. They wear a robe that flows backward, trailing into their past, woven with threads of mercy they never noticed in life. Their face is gentle, kind, familiar. They don't speak. They simply look at you and their eyes say, "You are not what you regret." And then they disappear like mist, remembering where it came from. You stand again. And ahead the mist parts. A path glows gently through the golden quiet. It leads to a garden, but not the garden, not Eden. Something other. Enoch never named it. He only called it a paradise that was never lost. And now, you're going there because not all paradise was closed. Some was simply waiting for someone who had learned to carry mercy. The golden mist retreats like breath, releasing a blessing. What rises before you now is green, but not Earth's green. Deeper, timeless. It shimmers with memory, but not nostalgia. It welcomes, but doesn't cling. You step forward into the paradise that was never Eden. Enoch hinted at it in passing. A place that predated the fall, not because it came before Eden, but because it was never touched by the story of sin. Not innocence, wholeness. The garden greets you in silence, not the kind that waits for something to happen. The kind that says everything already is. You walk through a meadow of light-drenched grasses that sway without wind. Trees rise tall, soft-barked, heavy with fruit that doesn't tempt, only offers. Their leaves glow with something like laughter. No angels guard this paradise, because no flaming sword was ever needed here. Nothing was broken, so nothing had to be kept out. A stream runs through the center, not water, not prophecy, something in between. It murmurs in languages you don't speak but feel. You kneel beside it and its mist kisses your skin. And for a moment, you remember who you were before you were ever afraid. That part of you never died. It just went quiet. Until now. You see others here, not people, not spirits. Essences. Beings walking among trees, tending to roots, resting on stones. Each one carries something you recognize, peace without passivity, joy without performance, presence without pressure. One notices you. They smile. No words. They don't need to ask why you're here. Everyone here knows that paradise is not about deserving. It's about returning. You walk with them. No questions, no theology, just rhythm. The trees seem to part wherever you move as though they've missed you. Because they have. This garden has never known shame, never heard the hiss of accusation, never buried a name. And in that freedom, it remembers you. You sit beneath a tree whose trunk pulses with song not audible but felt. It hums with every act of love ever done when no one was looking. A child giving half their sandwich away. An elder blessing someone who would never know. A stranger praying for the one who hurt them. The tree is made of those things. And its roots welcome your weight. A branch lowers. You reach up. Its fruit glows soft gold with silver veins. You don't eat it. You inhale it. The aroma fills you with something Eden never had. Continuation? This paradise doesn't end in exile. It ends in invitation. You lie down beneath the canopy and look upward. The sky here doesn't just shine. It receives. And it's receiving you now. A gentle pulse from the stream ripples through the ground. You know what it means. Your time here is complete. Not because you're being sent away, because you're being called onward. You stand, refreshed, whole, remembered. The beings around you bow not as servants, but as siblings. You smile, and step toward the glade where something new shimmers. A hallway that feels like stardust frozen into architecture. It leads to a room no one ever expects, but everyone hopes for. The place where even messengers rest. You are being invited into the room where angels sleep. And tonight, there's a place made just for you. The garden folds behind you like a book, softly closed, not forgotten, simply fulfilled. The hallway ahead is cool, quiet, dusted with light so fine it feels like ash from a burning star. Each step lands gently, without echo, as if the ground beneath you already knows where you're going. You're entering the room where angels sleep. Enoch never described it, not because he couldn't, because he wasn't allowed. This room is not for the mighty, it's for the weary. You pause at the threshold, not out of fear but reverence. You feel it in the bones of your breath, this is sacred ground. And then the door opens. Not outward, not inward, it simply vanishes. And you step into the stillest place you've ever known. The ceiling glows like breath frozen mid-song. The walls are made of starlight woven into rest, and in the center of the chamber beds. Simple, radiant, uncluttered. Each one cradles a sleeping being. Angels, not statues, not warriors. Resting. Some sleep curled like children. Others lie in poses of soft surrender, one arm over the heart, one wing drawn like a blanket. Their armor is folded neatly beside them. Their weapons gone, not needed here. And their faces, peaceful, more human than you expected. Because here even messengers are allowed to need comfort. You walk slowly through the room, not to wake them, to witness them. Each one has served, some in thunder, others in silence. Some have wept with the grieving, others have stood between nations as they teetered toward ruin. But now, they are held. The light above doesn't shine on them. It tucks them in, and as you pass one you feel it. A single moment from their service, carrying a soul too broken to walk. Not lifting them physically, just being present as they cross the last veil. That angel breathes softly now, and you sense the echo of a lullaby sung by heaven itself. This is the great secret. Even divine beings have limits. Even light must pause to rekindle. And here in this room there is no guilt for it, only grace. You reach a corner where no bed yet lies. Just soft ground, a pillow of cloud, a shimmer of approval. You're invited, not to sleep as they do, but to rest near them. You kneel, and the moment your palms touch the floor, something flows into you. Not fire, not revelation, just ease. A divine exhale that tells you, you do not have to carry everything all the time. You rest your head, not in fatigue, in permission. You stay there for what could be a minute or a millennium. No clocks tick here, no missions call, no burdens whisper. Only one truth remains. Even angels sleep. And so may you, eventually the light shifts, not to wake you, to gently call you forward, because something waits beyond this room. A final secret, a knowing that even Enoch never truly understood. What happens when a soul does not return, because it never really left? You rise, not reluctantly, gratefully. The room of sleeping angels fades behind you like a song you'll hum forever. And ahead, in a chamber lined with memory and dustless light, waits the truth Enoch discovered too late, the secret of his return. And the role you now play in that mystery. The passage forward feels different now, not like a continuation, but a convergence. Every step echoes softly with everything you've experienced so far, as if each memory walks with you. You're not alone, even though no one walks beside you. Heaven remembers its visitors. Ahead, a soft glow, bluer than flame, gentler than moonlight, pools around an archway carved from what looks like petrified breath. The air is silent, expectant. This is not a doorway you step through. This is a doorway you become part of. You've reached the threshold of the secret of Enoch's return. No books describe this place, no scroll bears its name. Even Enoch himself never fully explained how he returned, because in truth, he didn't. Not entirely. You step through the arch, and the room before you is empty, not lacking, waiting. A single chair sits in the center, not a throne, a seat. It's made of interwoven strands of light and parchment of ink and silence, a scribe's chair. The kind reserved not for rulers, but for recorders. You step closer, and then you see him, Enoch, but not as you imagined. He is not radiant. He is not cloaked in cosmic robes. He is not crowned. He is human, radiantly, humbly, divinely human. He looks up and smiles, not because you've arrived, but because he knew you would. He gestures to the seat across from his, and for a moment you understand, he never truly left heaven. He simply became part of it, a bridge between realms, a keeper of perspective, a scribe who recorded what angels feared to say and prophets could only dream. He speaks not loudly, not with mystery, just gently. I wasn't taken, he says. I was returned to where I had always been. I didn't ascend. He leans forward. I remembered. You feel it in your chest, a subtle shudder, like your soul turning a corner inside itself. Because now you remember too. You were never only earthbound. Part of you always belonged here. Enoch nods as you realize it. Then he stands not in departure but in offering, and he steps into you, not to possess. To rejoin? The parts of him that scattered through time, through vision, through silence, they were never lost. They were waiting, and in you, they become whole. You are not Enoch, but something in you has now carried what he carried, and now it's your turn to walk forward. The room glows. A path appears. Its surface is lined with starlight, its horizon layered in scenes not yet lived. You are walking through heaven's memory of the future, and ahead, just past the curve of the last visible edge, waits something timeless, a memory so ancient it hasn't happened yet. Heaven's past has recorded what has not yet come, and that's where you're going next. Into the heaven of tomorrow, where God stores the stories that haven't been told, but already know your name. The path curves with grace, not urgency. Each step feels like turning a page before it's written, but somehow the ink already knows where to fall. You walk forward, and the air around you takes on a new texture, not wind, not mist, memory made liquid. You've entered the realm Enoch never dared describe aloud. This is heaven's future hidden in its past. It is not prophecy, it is remembrance. Of what has not yet occurred? A paradox, yes. But here paradox is the native tongue. You step into a vast expanse, and for a moment you're sure there's nothing here. Then the light shifts, and everything appears. Scenes. Moments. Futures curled like unborn stars gently rotating in place. Each one glows not with certainty, but with possibility. And these possibilities don't compete. They coexist. You pass a vision of a city built from peace, not architecture, but reconciliation. No walls, only bridges. You see a child born to a family that almost didn't survive, but did. Their first cry sounds like a hymn heaven already knows. You see someone choose mercy in the middle of betrayal, and the angels applaud without sound. You realize these aren't predictions, they're invitations. Heaven is remembering what earth might still become. You move through more of these memories, some flickering like firelight, others pulsing like distant thunder. They're not meant to be lived all at once. They are stored here, held in trust, like dreams entrusted to God's library, waiting for someone on earth to say yes. A voice emerges now, not from above, but from inside the light. You were made in the image of memory. You stop, because that phrase holds everything. It means you were not designed to simply react to life. You were designed to recall the divine, and to rebuild it on earth. Each time you create beauty from pain, each time you choose to bless instead of curse, each time you carry someone's burden even when your arms are shaking, you bring these futures into now. You turn heaven's memory into earth's reality. And then you notice something new, a thread, golden, moving. It curls from one memory to another, and then to you. You reach out. The thread wraps around your wrist, and a vision blooms. You, much older, kneeling beside someone, not preaching, not performing, just holding space for them. They are crying. You are quiet, and heaven is singing. You blink. The thread retracts. The vision settles into your ribs. It's not a prophecy now. It's a seed, and it will bloom if you choose it. The path winds upward now just slightly, toward a soft glow, not bright, sacred. You sense it's the final chamber. You are almost there. Just ahead, a hall formed of breath and brilliance, and at its end, a book, dustless, alive, waiting, because your journey began with visions of others, but it ends with your name, written where heaven writes what it hopes will never be erased. The light narrows not to constrain but to concentrate. It folds inward like prayerful hands. Every step now is quieter, deeper. The path doesn't rise but lifts you, not like flying, more like being remembered upward. You enter the chamber. It is small, not grand, not echoing. Personal. The walls pulse with soft light as if lined with warm breath. The air hums gently, no music, just presence. And at the center of the room, a pedestal, and on it, the book. It is neither scroll nor codex. It is alive. Its cover shifts between stone leather glass wind, never settling, as if it is still deciding how best to tell your story. You approach. There is no fear in you now, only readiness. The book opens, not by hand, by recognition. The pages turn with no sound, not because they are empty, but because they are already listening. You expect to see your name, but you see something more. You see your thread, not just your actions, but your effects. The moment you chose patience and someone behind you learned it. The day you forgave yourself quietly and someone miles away felt the freedom to begin again. The things you never knew mattered. did. You reach out and touch the page. It ripples, not like ink, like water. Because this isn't a record, it's a river, and your life has already joined it. The book begins to glow from within, and a single sentence rises from the surface. You remembered heaven before you ever arrived. Your eyes fill not from grief, from recognition, because it's true. All those times you paused to wonder, all those dreams of peace that didn't come from movies or preachers or books, all those feelings of something more, they were never illusions. They were recall. You didn't learn heaven. You remembered it. And now, heaven remembers you. The chamber begins to pulse in rhythm with your breath, and a soft wind enters. It doesn't come from outside. It comes from completion. Because now, the journey ends, but not with the door closing, with a soul settling. The light wraps around your shoulders like a robe. You feel the weight not heavy, just true. You are carried gently from the chamber, back through the halls, back through the moments, back to the edge of breath. You hover between sleep and knowing, between stillness and awakening. And heaven whispers, this is not the end. It is the remembering. And so you begin to descend, back to the world, of form of time, of hunger, of need. But you do not come back empty. You carry heaven now, not as knowledge, as presence, forever humming just beneath your daily life, forever resting on the inside of your next quiet decision. And when others wonder why you smile for no reason, it's because you've seen the pages. You've sat where angels sleep. You've walked in the shadow of the book that knows your name. And now, you are part of the memory that heaven will never forget. The journey quiets now. The light softens. Your breath slows, not from exhaustion, but from ease. Around you, the images fade, not in loss, but in love. The rivers of prophecy settle. The stars hush. The angels fold their wings. And you are home. You lie down in the warmth of what you've seen, of what you've become. The visions no longer demand attention. They lull you now like distant tides brushing against the edges of your mind. You remember the silence of Tsafkiel, the smile of the watcher who sang your moment, the gatekeeper's eyes, the feather of your prayer, the tree with eyes of fire. Each one still with you, but now they drift gently to the edges of your awareness as peace takes the center. No questions left, no revelations needed, just stillness and love and the hum of heaven holding you until morning. Let it carry you now. Let it soften your breath. Let the memory of this light fill your dreams. And when you wake, remember this. You were not dreaming. You were returning. And the gate, it will always open for you again. End of script. Sweet dreams.